Well, I saw pictures of it, so that I thought of it. You know, anything I'm painting, what I want it to be, that's why I go on painting.
Yeah, and also the opposition knows about
Really painted it in the since
they're able to take advantage.
Every day.
One recent painting that I'm ridiculously
That's George's
satisfied
cookie
about,
jar.
and everything else is.
Well, he's a very interesting guy, very opinionated, and always interesting to listen to and be around. So, cheers, George.
Right now, say something about George.
Oh, my sweetheart, you mean? The one that I took all over the place? My wonderful friend.
Your boyfriend.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah, my boyfriend.
Fine fella. She doesn't taste like tomato juice.
I'm taping this, so would you like to say?
I've known Bill, Paul for a long time. Grazie, senor.
Would you like to say something about George?
I have nothing good to say about George. He wandered into my store 20 years ago. I discovered that he bought sociology. I said, I got to keep this guy. I don't know anybody else in North America that buys sociology. I hired him, the X-rated part of this, so that he could run the store a little bit so I could smoke pot and fly kites while he ran the store and harung everybody. That's more than you wanted to know.
Yeah, welcome.
Would
You're making a movie, aren't you?
Just for the family. Would you like to say anything about George?
I'll say that.
Don't say anything nice.
No. He was very nice to me. No, he was a good guy. He liked to talk a lot.
You don't mind if I...
Oh, you noticed.
That's an understatement.
And sometimes
Are you ready for a drop? Or you?
Sure.
he might drive you away occasionally. But all in all, he had a good heart.
This will test your two-fisted drinking and movie making.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a good overall person. And he was from my home state, New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
So that makes him even better.
Anything else?
How about you? You want to say something?
Just said I miss him. And yeah, I was from New York, so we used to talk about the back east and stuff. Yeah. And rest in peace.
Hello.
Hi. Would you like to say something about George?
George was an amazing person, and I'm going to miss him. You know, because the neighborhood is just not the same without George. That's for sure. And I'm sure right at this moment he's somewhere up in heaven telling all the angels that there's a conspiracy to take over heaven. But he's gonna cue them in on it. All right.
Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay. Would you like to say anything about George?
Yeah, I think he was a curmudgeon. That's it, the dictionary.
A lovable one.
A lovable curmudgeon.
Are you ready, Sue?
I'm going to read the poem.
Okay.
So I think it has to be quiet for them.
We'll wait.
We're here to celebrate George Crowle's life. He was our affable George. Everyone knew him. Everyone here has had personal contact with George. So we're going to start by saying thank you to Laura and Ian for making these beautiful programs. It has the poetry on one side, a poem I wrote about George, and it has his life story on the other side. And everyone's taking one home, and we're going to send some to Mike and Marcia to share with the family. So now let me read this poem I wrote about George. It's over so many years, maybe 20 years with George. It wasn't always fun, but I tell you what, I'm such a better person for George. George Crowle forever. George our Holland Tunnel could talk on anything. His books and friends were many. His knowledge was pristine. He ranted and expounded lots. To halt his tongue was rare. A pest at times, but in the block, each person gave their ear. He shared the values of small towns. Elizabeth was his, for family and for country. He knew what he should give. To draw was George's talent. His art he finally hid. One day he stood before me and did the Irish jig. He liked to kid and joke a lot, and everything I said he could make into cutely lewd. Men, I scoffed in dread. He was the helper to the block. He worked with kids on street to help them clear and plant some trees. Our neighborhood he kept neat. Religiously he fed 2 cats, Rosie and Marie. Twice a day he'd visit them and talk to them a piece. Hot under the collar, he ranted on world woes, but in the morning he'd come back and call me Boston Rose. Some who found him irksome helped him at the end. His papers were in order. Paul Foreman put them in. Doctor's teeth and other needs, Paul also helped him too. Eyeglasses he got for him, more books to read. We grinned. George, adverse to taking meds, was docile with our pleas. He knew his spirits needed help and finally did agree. Jerry was his party girl. She took him out to eat, made sure he had some fun with life. From rehab, same old beat. Once a greeter to the town, a greeter to the end. George made his dent on human hearts. So many were his friends.
Very nice.
So now, if anyone would like to stand up and say anything about George, how you remembered him and what he meant to you.
I was one of those folks, as Sue said, who found him irksome.
You helped him a lot too.
In fact, I used to say, Sue, what are you putting up with this guy for? But she did, and I eventually did, and it did make me a better person. There's no question about it. George, as we all know, was very opinionated, and he had his own perception of reality. But then don't we all? You know, like Shakespeare said, you know, merely players with our exits and our entrances. And some of the things that he espoused that, George, what are you talking about? Was that there weren't enough jobs for all the people, that these jobs were just created to control people, for social control. And that what we really needed to have in this country was a guaranteed minimum wage. So everybody, you wouldn't be on welfare, everybody would have a basic living wage, which the government would give them. And if they wanted to work and earn more, that's fine. A lot of people found that weird or socialistic or whatever, but you know, there is a minority but respected economic school now that is saying exactly that. So George was a very, very bright man. And more important to me, he was a very sweet man. And I'm sure Sue had the same experience, and Jerry had the same experience. They did way more for him than I did. Yet every little thing I did for him, whether it was take him to the doctor or whatever, he would always go overboard and express his appreciation. And he would do it over and over and over again. So much that it almost embarrassed me. So I'm always going to have him as part of my life. I'm glad I finally came around from irksome to helper. And I've learned through helping George to help other people. And I'm thankful for that.
That was very good. Thank you.
And I just want to say that George was a good friend for me, and though sometimes maybe he was difficult, but I think he was a good person, kind person who, you know, like always treated me to lunch. Even sometimes I would bring my girlfriends and he would treat everybody like he was a very generous person, though we knew he didn't have like a lot of money, you know. So, but he always was willing to treat people, to be nice to people. So I think we all will miss him. sad, but what can you do? It's part of life.
Thank you.
All right.
Jerry already spoke, but she's gonna say a few more words.
And we all can hear
Am I speaking to you again?
Just
Yeah.
to everybody.
No, to
Anyway,
everybody.
I've only known George since the beginning of the year. Thanks to Eleanor, I got a job with Sue, and I helped Sue with George. And actually, it was a delight towards the end. It was. I just took him wherever I went, and he was calm, and I think he was a happy man. I think. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Pete, are you ready? Are you ready? Ready as you'll ever be, right?
We could all talk about George for hours.
And
One
George
of the
was-
funny things I remember was he and Chris used to go to yard sales when Chris was driving.
Lots of them.
Oh my God.
And one time they came to my house. They didn't know that I lived there. I just live upstairs. And I happened to look out because one of the tenants was having a little yard sale, and they must have seen his sign. So I just happened to look out the window and I said, "There's George and Chris." So then my phone rang. So I got on the phone and I was going to run down there, but by the time I got done talking, they'd already left. I thought that was because they had no idea that I even lived there. I thought it was so funny that I just happened to spot him right in the front yard. I don't even know if you guys bought anything or not. But I remember another funny thing about George. I helped him move out of Lincoln Avenue, Paul.
And out of, and out of.
And
Their sainthood.
you know, his house was so full of books, all of this, and his landlord was there helping with his wife and one of his boys. And so I picked it up. I must have picked up about 5,000 pounds of books and dumped them into these enormous boxes. And I ran across some of this junk mail that you get with every week, the newspaper, the grocery store ads. I found a pack of those, and I was gonna throw them in the garbage can. And George was there. He says, "No." He says, "Don't throw those away." and the landlord looked at it. He says, "Well, this is just junk mail." What do you? George says, "Well, I want to say that because I want to compare that to prices 10 years ago, because he had some other junk mail he had saved for 10 years ago." So anyway, that's George. He just, his mind just went everywhere. And he just was always preoccupied with something. But he's a good man, and I sure miss him.
We all do. Thank you.
Kevin, you need the floor.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have anything to say, but I'll say what's already there on the recording. I met George probably 25 years ago when I opened my store. He came in, bookstore down the block, if anybody here doesn't know about it. And he bought sociology, and I thought, he's the only person I know in North America that buys sociology, I gotta keep him. So I hired him, and the truth of the matter is, he had a gift for gab that got in the way of everything, but I needed to be out of the store sometimes, so I hired him to be in the store, and I would go down into the island and fly a kite until I came into that no kite flying sign by the airport. And I figured the way George can make sales at the store is the first person that walked in the store was hopeless as a customer. That person would be in a harangue from when they entered the store to when he left. But as near as I could tell, he could only do one person at a time. So the first person, no business, but anybody that came in after him could shop, buy books, and leave and stuff like that. So it was okay, because I've only been in the business a couple of years, and I thought it was important to keep business. George and I got into, some of you probably have a 20-year argument with him. Anybody besides me? Okay, there you go. But it was okay because the arguments got fierce at times, and we would do it in the store, not really practical for retail, but we would both, when the customer would walk in, we both get whacked like, okay, we're not going to do it. But if George thought I had provoked him while there was a customer in the store, that didn't stop him. But it says something for George. I never stopped loving him. only exited 86 once or twice. And one of the best things about George is, you know, he has these things, so it was like there was never an end to the argument. And I decided at a certain point to act like Martin Luther. I thought this was going nowhere. So I wrote down on a piece of paper, planning to post on his door a dictum that since conversation, and by the way, I've not put George down, I love him, this is just about him, that since the conversation is usually for two people to share something and enrich, and this ain't happening here, I quit. So I wrote it down and handed it to George. What do you think George's response was? He loved it. He had evidence of my mental derangement. He was delighted, and he saved it until sorry when he lost, he saved it to, you know, he had evidence against me. And about a year ago, my last visit in Alameda, I stayed with him. I could see he was losing it. They were, the kind of things that he couldn't remember were sort of scary, but he knew me, I knew him, and we had a great time the last time, because no matter what the arguments, we can get along, and somehow the George behind the dialogue was always there. I mean, I don't think anybody here both didn't have an argument with him and didn't love him. So we'll all miss him.
These are some words from a lady that worked in Kevin's bookstore. Her name was Sidna. And about this ongoing argument, she said, I get up every morning and do everything I can to keep from coming over and getting an argument with you. It was very hard for him not to argue, and he fought against it. And when he was at our brunches, he would leave. He accosted Susan and, oh well, a number of people, and he would say, I have to leave. So he would walk it off. But anyway, Sidna also wanted to leave this haiku for George. Letting go the hand of a friend, the cold door knob, you know. But, you know, George, you know, I've been through so many houses with him, and I was the one that kept all his books. I had a hard time when he said, no, don't give away those books. And it wasn't until Jerry came along that we got rid of the books. And at the end, George didn't care about the books. He just cared about saying thank you to everyone. He forgot Aunt Helen. He forgot his Pat. He just was a very happy camper. And I'm so happy that at the end, he was affable George.
He was very mellow.
And the song that he loved so much that he gave me maybe 15 years ago was called The Boston Rose. And I was so busy taking care of George, I really couldn't appreciate him. So I was listening to the song. He was so engaged with the song. It's a beautiful song. And he told me how much he loved me. Well, you know, we say it was sort of like Don Quixote. You know, he sort of, he loved me, but I think he loved the concept of me, because I was so much like his town, Elizabeth. We shared the same values, and I actually listened to him. I read his books, and we could have a cogent conversation, and not everybody would listen to George. So I can say we were deep friends. We were very close friends. And I think now that Eleanor was practicing the Boston Rose. Were we going to sing it?
Ian and Laura ran off the copy on the piano, and it's easy to play. But the thing is, it's very, very high. It goes way up here, and most of us can't sing that high. So let's, I suggest that we put the tape on, put it on as loudly as you can, and we'll sing
worldwide. On our last visit there, we filmed this song, The Boston Rose.
Here we go. Now the autumn leaves are falling, and the tourists have all gone, and the children they have all gone back to school. My life is as it was before. I worked 8 hours a day, but the company's still making all the rules. There's a girl in Massachusetts, Sue, south of Boston town, she said,
and her lonely face is with me all the day. I met her down in Old Charlie, golden hair upon her head, and I told her and she stole mine away. On the chorus, so goodbye, my Boston beauty, farewell, my Boston rose. I'll wait for you, I'll think of you, a friend to you I'll pose. Goodbye, my Boston beauty, farewell, my Boston rose. I wish that you were here, but I know that's the way life goes. There's a song we sang all summer in the bars of Dublin town, and I heard it on the factory radio. And all I remember as we sang that simple tune made me wonder if it really happened so. We laughed and loved together till the summer days were gone, and she had to fly across the ocean wide. So goodbye, my Boston beauty, until we meet again, and I'll keep a fire burning deep inside. Back to the chorus. So goodbye, my Boston beauty, farewell, my Boston rose. I'll wait for you, I'll think of you, no friend to you I'll pose. Goodbye, my Boston beauty, farewell, my Boston rose. I wish that you were here, but I know that's the way life goes.
And the bottom now.
Some nights when I'm drinking, and my friends have gathered round, just for someone brings up your pain. I laugh and with the rest of them, but I can't hear a sound. I love you, but to them it's all the same. Nights when I'm alone, my love, you come into my mind, and visions flash upon that inward eye. While I watch the moon up above, and I leave this earth behind, and I call to you as I was sailing by. Goodbye, my Boston beauty, farewell, my Boston rose. I'll wait for you, I'll think of you, no friend to you I'll pose. Goodbye, my Boston beauty, farewell, my Boston rose. I wish that you were here, but I know that's the way life goes. I wish that you were here, so farewell, my Boston rose.
Well, I miss George. I'm here having some Irish whiskey because I know he loved Ireland. We talked a lot about Ireland. I'm Irish, and we had a lot in common. He really was a great guy. I loved his spirit. You know, he was different, but he was George. We loved him. He spent a lot of time at my house. We would hang out and talk about his family, and you know, he was very intelligent, extremely intelligent. You know, he talked for hours, and sometimes, you know, he was way up there and I was way down here. I didn't understand half the stuff he was saying, but I just went along, and he was a joy, and I miss him.
That's nice. Oh, how much I miss him. I saw him the day before he passed away. We went to the doctor. He was feeling good. He had a decent meal. And like the lady said, what a way to go in your sleep, huh? Yeah, that's it for me.
Well, we will miss George very much. Very, very much. Yeah. He was a good man.
We'll all miss him.